During the winter, red-sided garter snakes hibernate in rocky crevices and caves, waiting for spring to arrive. Once it does, they emerge in huge numbers. And all that time cooped up underground has fueled a strong sexual appetite. Spring is definitely in the air, and the snakes immediately start to have sex. Amid this frenzied mass of mating snakes, there are lots of sexually eager males on the lookout for females. Or rather, using their noses to search for feminine scents. 98% of these snakes are male, so how do they manage to find the females in all the confusion? Size is one way. Females are bigger than males. But they're actually relying more on smell than sight to locate a mate. In this tangle, it may be the most reliable way of working out which head belongs to which tail. And amid the writhing mass of bodies, they begin to pick out the telltale female odours. When a female is finally found, she quickly becomes the centre of attention, and soon she's mobbed and buried beneath a frenzy of slithering, serpentine sex, as 100-odd males all try to have sex with her. But only one of them will get lucky. However, looks, or rather smells, can be deceiving, and the truth about garter snake sex is quite shocking. Nearly 15% of the snakes these horny males are trying to seduce are also male. Have their noses let them down? Or is there something suspicious going on? But they're female in smell only. Underneath the heavy perfume, they're all male. Their deceit is a clever sexual strategy. In the chaos of a mating ball, the feminine scent they exude diverts the attention of their male competitors, leading them down a blind alley. As things get more hectic, they get more confusing. But so good is the disguise that where the transvestites are operating, real females are ignored. So these she-males can get closer to the real females, close enough to mate. They score time and time again. But if the success rate of this strategy is so good, why don't all male garter snakes try it? It seems that not all snakes are suited to transvestism. To keep the illusion going, a committed transvestite is forced to spend valuable time fending off hordes of overexcited males. And being mobbed by a sex-starved gang can be exhausting. So while male versus male competition actually created this transvestite roleplay, it also placed a limit on its value and how common it is as a viable sexual strategy. Garter snakes use feminine scent to impersonate females, but there are other transvestites that appear to go all the way. The seahorse isn't any old female impersonator. It's one thing to put on some perfume and act like the opposite sex. It's quite another to get pregnant, endure labour, and give birth. But that's what he does. We're used to seeing the male as more colourful, aggressive, and larger than the female. He usually looks and acts like this because he concentrates everything into fighting and competing for female attention. And the male seahorse is no different. He's also highly competitive, but this time to get pregnant. When two seahorses with sex on their mind meet, they gallop off to a nearby strand of seagrass, where they spend hours slowly twirling around and around, changing colour and making eyes at each other. At this point, it's the female that's carrying the eggs, though not for long. As the courting pair swims side by side, changing colour and holding tails, they grip a strand of seagrass and wheel around in unison. Then the male pumps water through the egg pouch on his trunk, which balloons and gapes open, displaying its emptiness. The female then inserts her oviduct into the male's brooding pouch, but only lays in very short bursts to avoid exhaustion. As a total of around 200 eggs are transferred from her trunk into his pouch, she gets her waistline back, but his increases. Once the process is complete, he swims away to find a nearby plant, and using his curly tail, he grabs hold and waits for things to happen. Inside, his body is beginning to course with prolactin, the same hormone that governs milk production in pregnant women. But he won't be supplying milk. Instead, his pouch provides oxygen. It's a kind of incubator. Through a capillary network, he transfers nutrients which keep the inside of the pouch full of salt water. So when they're eventually born, seahorses will be fully prepared for their life aquatic. Although she'll take no further active role, she continues to pay him regular visits throughout his pregnancy. She swims back for what looks like more courtship. Once again, they change colour, wheel around the fronds of seagrass, and finally promenade, holding on to each other's tails. Then she swims away until the next morning. He goes back to vacuuming up food through his snout. It's still a mystery why the female makes these daily visits rather than living alongside the male. But once she's transferred the eggs to him, that's the end of her contribution. It's the male that takes on all the responsibility for fertilizing the eggs and carrying them around as they develop. The typical pregnant bulge is finally released as the fully formed baby seahorses hatch by the dozen. Why the male gets pregnant is still a mystery, but in theory, the sex that is the most competitive has the potential to have more offspring, and male seahorses are highly competitive. When it comes to babies, these male mothers have an impressive record. One individual is known to have had over 1,500 at a single time. Despite his pregnancy, the male seahorse is, strictly speaking, not a transvestite. There is no female seahorse birth role for him to imitate. Nevertheless, this extraordinary alternative lifestyle is a fascinating mirror image to our own reproductive world. While the seahorse has opted for a switch in the conventional reproductive roles, there are species for whom a complete sex change is just a normal part of growing up.